Hayır. Assalamu alaikum. So, I don't know, this is the, so my session was changed, so I don't know which session now, what's the number of session now, but I would like to welcome all to this session. We have two speakers. This was sixth?
I mean, it is, yeah, yours, and this one is fifth session. And so the subject of the session is microfinance and Waqf. And you have İSİFAM al-Muttaqin, literature review on sustainable Islamic microfinance finance institution, and also Ruqayya Muhammad.
Ruqayya Muhammad. Okay, welcome. So I think we have 1 hour total for this session. Every speaker have 20 minutes. So we can start. Eki, you have 20 minutes. I think Dr. Necmettin also said your paper. Please, floor is yours.
I'm going to share my presentation first. Wait a moment. Can you see my slides?
Yes, we can see. Yes.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to Dr. Tahairi, and I would like to thank to all organizing committee for giving me the time to present my papers. Let me introduce myself. My name is İSİFAM al-Muttaqin. I'm a graduate student at the International Finance and Participation Banking in Istanbul Sabahattin Zaim University. So here I'm going to present my paper under the title of Literature Review on Sustainable Islamic Microfinance Institution and Circular Flow Concept, a lesson learned from BMT Indonesia. As we know, BMT, it means that Baitul Mal wa Tamwil it is one of the microfinance Indonesia. So my presentation will be organized as follows. For the first, I would like to explain with the introduction, which is consists of the background and the objective of the papers. The second one, literature review, will be discussed about the current literatures and also related to the topic of the papers. And the third, methodology. And the fourth, main result and discussion. And the last one, I'm going to close my presentation with conclusion and recommendation. So this paper, based on the growing number of literature, have attempted to deal with the contribution of Islamic finance industry to the real sector of economic growth. But unfortunately, the literature has been limited. Until recently, not many authors had analyzed the financial system and its solution with the sustainable and holistic approach. So in terms of accessibility of the poor and the poorest people to the financial services, microfinance has continually been discussed by the authors, academicians, practitioners, and even policymakers in such a spirit to promote accessibility of the financial development. It has been promoted also in the Islamic microfinance. In practice, basically, they are among the programs that has been proposed by Islamic Development Bank in promoting sustainable development goals, which is called IDB, Islamic Microfinance Development Program, for some priority countries, such as Sub-Saharan Africa and other countries. So as we know, in developing accessibility and the impact Islamic microfinance provide a charity or a social approach and also business approach. Actually, this kind of uniqueness may not be found or provided by the conventional institution. Basically, in Indonesian case, along with the main function of Islamic microfinance services, it is important to elaborate uniqueness aspect in accordance with a social or charity and business aspect by the sample of BMT as the best practice of Indonesian cases. So the objective of the paper, there are two objectives of the papers. So for the first, to explore dual function system in Islamic microfinance institution, whether BMT is able to accommodate and bring up effectiveness while operated under this function, uniqueness of the social and business aspect. So the second one, objective of the paper is using circular flow concept and finance may promote deeply understanding how many stakeholders might be impacted by the management process of Islamic microfinance institution, especially on BMT cases in Indonesia. So as far as I know, it is the first study that contribute to developing literature model using circular flow concept in elaborating Islamic microfinance institution in the area of sustainable financial services. Moreover, it may be given new perspective in constructing Islamic microfinance institution using two major functions, which is consists of the social and business aspect. So here is the literatures. Based on the mainstream perspective and also from the other empirical evidence, it is clearly stated and also founded that the idea of circular flow analysis started from the general theory of equilibrium, which is paying attention to the concept of rationality. You can call it Wallacean theory. Households are going to maximize utility subject to the income constraint, and firms are going to maximize profit. So in fact, it had been promoted also by Leontief in 1928 and also Samuelson in 1991, since the concept of intermediation theory of finance has been implemented in this financial services. On the other hand, nowadays, basically in the practice, there are still limited the literature that may provide new sustainable, provide with sustainable and holistic approach using circular flow concept. So here is the simple circular flow concept will be explained. Basically in this, in the simple circular flow concept, there are only two key parts. The first one is household. Household receive income through the wages and salaries from their jobs on investment on the investment, and then they buy goods and or services supplied by the firms, which is called as consumer spending. So the second one, firms is going to hire land, labor, and capital inputs when making product, or which they pay wages and rent. Firms receive payment from the customer. So in terms of the financial intermediary rule, saving is seen as accumulation of wealth from household, while investment is seen as a number of loans made by business sectors. So one of typical, as I mentioned before, one of typical of microfinance in Indonesia is BMT, which is initially was established and developed to be able to adapt with existing laws and regulation based on the Islamic perspective, market segment for poor and poorest, and also promoting empowerment based on the local wisdom to optimize local strength. So there are two, as you see in the slide, there are two functions or division of BMT. For the first, Baitul Mal, to collect compulsory and voluntary charities, such as Ziswap. It means that zakat, infak, sedekah, waqf, and also optimize their distribution by applying Sharia-based management. So the second one is Baitul Tamwil, to develop productive business as well as investment, which is addressed to enhance the quality of human economic life, especially for those who are having small medium enterprises or micro and small economic scale by promoting funding and financial activities. So the methodology, here is the methodology such stated on the title of the paper. This study used literature review, which is referring to several 13 provisions. So for the first, it is intended for obtaining the latest and the update references. The second one, in the case of in the case do not rule out the getting beyond this criteria just because exploring basic theoretical framework. And the third one, moreover, it is possible to find related references from the government or institution sources as a link to the policymaker perspective. So basically, this study is following practical criteria in preparing literature review research that has been promoted by Fernandez in 2019, just a year ago. In brief, the literature review may pass into 3 steps of a literature review puzzle, as you can see in the slide. First, obtaining and identifying related literatures. The second one, organizing and also summarizing the points that may be relevant with the topic. The third one, evaluating and also discovering the final statement that have been obtained. So in the other word, the model presents the 3 stages as a linear process for simplicity of explanation. So here is the result and discussion. So I'm going to explain for the first current practice of circular flow in finance. So in general, there are aspects that may be considered coming from the attitude, product life extension, performance on the economic model, values, and also supply chain management. Like as you can see in the table of 2 sides, there are 2 side characteristics of linear economic and characteristics of circular economic. So here, based on the previous model called as a linear economy, overall the concept of linear economy may not paying attention to the concept of sustainability, that being priority in 21st century of economic development model. So that a circular flow of finance may provide a new alternative in promoting sustainable process. So I think it is a necessity to be moving beyond the linear economy to the circular flow of economic model in developing financial services. So as I mentioned before in the literature review section, there are only 2 key parts of the simple model consists of the household and firms, but in practice, more than this assumption, there are also government and also overseas sector that might be considered in the model of circular flow of finance. So a circular flow model of finance, provide new segment with prospect to reinvent their existing services and to explore new activities. In doing so, they can enter new markets, gain market share, create competitive advantage, and also ultimately increase revenues. This business of opportunities will be the main driver on the transition from the linear to the circular business model. So here the multi-sector circular flow model of the microfinance as a BMT as the best practice. Here we can learn more about the circular flow process and the relation between the institution which payment flow and the balance of payment identity by bringing them together. First, we should note that it is not only saving, as you can see in the slide, that pass through financial intermediaries. In the modern economy, virtually all consumer and government spending as well as investment spending is intermediated through the financial intermediaries. Investments in the circular flow model is in effect a net investment loan made to business less loan repayment. Furthermore, we are to consider business as distinct from their shareholder. So household saving is important, but the most important reason why the saving of some household is important is to fund the withdrawal of other household saving. Saving can be understood as the accumulation of financial assets, including money as a store of value, and this saving and so on. So this become particularly problematic when we move into the balance of payment analysis, which we generally treat as a quiet spirit topic from circular flow analysis. Here, international investment means to acquire foreign assets, especially foreign in finance assets such as deposit, bond, and shares. So here is the holistic Islamic microfinance, and the impact is, so a holistic approach is necessity to make to make operational, which is considering an integrative sustainable framework for sustainable Islamic microfinance industry. For the reason financial, environment, social, and government dimension, and the balance among them have to be considered. From a holistic perspective, sustainable is understood as a balance between financial, environment, social, and also government dimension, highlighting the importance of relation and equilibrium among the four dimensions in the short and long term. So all this part of holistic financial should be under the scope of Maqasid Sharia. As you can see in the chart, Maqasid Sharia, which is consists of the faith, life, intellectual, and so on. So holistic financial institution is designed as an integration of social inclusion and also financial inclusion, which is social inclusion carried out by Baitul Mal, and the other side, financial inclusion carried out by the Baitul Tamwil division. So social inclusion includes social program and development program provided to poor people utilizing Islamic social tools such as zakat, infak, sadaqah, waqf, as I mentioned before, while financial inclusion include financing program and Islamic micro services provide to graduate mustahiq utilizing commercial fund. So the objective of holistic financial institution combines social objective of poverty outreach and also commercial objective of financial sustainability, solving the problem of double bottom line, mission drift, and commercialization. So the last here, as you can see, I'm going to explain in brief about the implication is, so the first, the most important element of financial sustainability are funding independent, operational efficiency, and profitability. Funding is independent is the most important since BMT, similar to the most microfinance institution, has difficulties to collect deposit from its member or potential member, so that BMT has to find external sources of funds such as Islamic Bank and other sources. And the second one, the most important aspect of holistic financial institution are economic impact and social impact, which are two parts of welfare impact. BMT are generally independent of government funds, but are dependent of zakat, infak, sadaqah, and waqf funds. Therefore, welfare impact become important since zakat and public investment demand payoff or impact, such as food security, alleviation of poverty, and the economic growth. Meanwhile, the most important element of social impact are mindset change and also empowered and knowledge improvement, which are important element to support long-term and short and long-term of triangle of microeconomic. So the last, the most important element of financial program are simplicity and easy to access, which are very important by poor people to break the barrier to go to Islamic microfinance institution. Meanwhile, the microfinance, the microfinancing, micro saving, and also micro takaful, as the most important element of Islamic microfinance services, are the three most needed Islamic microfinance services by self-sufficient graduated mustahiks to grow and expand their micro business, and they are in line with the best practice of microfinance services. So here is the last. I'm going to close my presentation with the conclusion and recommendation. So the conclusion is, using the circle of law concept will help understanding how the finance may be achieving economic impact to the stakeholder. Furthermore, it can be provide understanding how important circular flow in economic. The circular flow in financing the economic may promote sustainability of production and also consumption funding. The second, in the concept of holistic, there are three main points that must be applied. For the first, uniqueness, and the second one, mobilizing of the local strength and also synergizing between social and business approach. The third, the transition to a circular flow of finance in BMT is expected to create an important disruption and transformation in the existing industrial supply chain and will require multiple simultaneous change in various parts of the production and consumption system. And the last, in promoting microfinance services, sustainable financial system is a key to maintain smooth process in particular on the cash flow level. Sustainability may bring up to the resilience and funding in controlling transactional funding, as well as promoting effectiveness and usefulness in concerning to the poor community. And the recommendation is here. Circular flow concept. So circular flow concept of finance in economy need to be implemented in the Islamic microfinance services in maintaining sustainable financial institution. Holistic financial in Islamic perspective, where not-for-profit division doing social inclusion using Islamic social tools, and for-profit division doing financial inclusion related to business using commercial funds. And the third one, not-for-profit activities could only be carried out by the non-for-profit or charity-based institution, while for-profit activities could only. So the last, this dichotomies between social and business aspect should be ended to so that Islamic institution could play their role as they mean to be one unique and well-known Islamic institution in Indonesia, which could operate as a charity based on the market-based organization. It's called Baitul Mal wa Tamwil. That's all that I can explain to you. So thank you for having me. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thank you very much, Iki. Your fruitful presentation and also using time. So we may continue to next our presenter, and after her presentation, we may discuss two papers. Okay, I'm just actually I don't know the last session, but
yes, we discussed both papers together.
Okay. It is okay. Then we may continue with UK Ahmed, and her paper name is Exploring the Determinants of Patronage of Ijara Financing in Nigeria. So you have 20 minutes or so, okay? Please, floor is yours.
Let me start by greeting the panel. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to present my paper. My name is Ruqayya Muhammad Ahmad from Bayero University, Kano. The title of my paper is Exploring the Determinant of Patronage of Ijara Financing in Nigeria, Bayero University, Kano. Hello? Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay, yes. The purpose of this study is to identify the key determinant factors which influence customers to patronize a banking product. As identification of such factors is a vital step for newly introduced Islamic financial institution toward attracting and retaining customers. Islamic finance in Nigeria and Africa is a kind of emerging industry. So identifying the factors which will influence customers to patronize their product is very important at this stage, as it will pave the way for such institutions to thrive and survive in a growing and competitive financial market. It seems quite challenging for Islamic banks to identify factors which influence customers' patronage towards given products. Patronage of Islamic banking product or services may be influenced by many things, which might include product efficacy, that is to say, the extent to which this product comply with Sharia, their religiosity or not, the benefits which these products will yield, and also the advantage that the product had over an existing product. Because initially there is existing products in conventional banking, which is similar to this product. So the study is set out to investigate factors which influence this patronage of focused patronage for Islamic banking product towards Ijara financing product among Jaiz Bank customers in Nigeria. The study uses 3 parameters. There is to say efficacy, the benefits of the product, and advantage of the product over existing products. The methodology of the study adopts casual survey research to explore determinant of patronage, which is quantitative in nature, pre-planned, and also structured in design similar to descriptive research. Questionnaire was used to collect data from 213 respondents. Multiple regression and Pearson correlation were subsequently applied to identify most important determining factors of customers' patronage. So the result shows that product efficacy and relative advantage were most important factors considered by both Muslim and non-Muslim customers when patronizing a product. Efficacy was found to be insignificant. So the finding for this study, so after findings of this study, the researcher suggests that the bank should consolidate on existing product structures, as customers have indicated a delight at a product attribute, such as having control over the asset and liability, having control over the assets, the ability of bank to keep maintenance of the assets during the tenure, as well as it is liberal policy on collateral requirements. It also implies the need for carrying the customers along in process for determining the rental amounts that suits the customer's situation, as well as improving the interpersonal relationship between customers and relationship managers. There is need also to deploy massive information disseminations and interactive outlets such as social media, billboards, radio jingles, and SMS services to enhance customers' awareness and knowledge of the product. Finally, the study recommends that the bank should introduce short-term courses that will sharpen the Islamic jurisprudence skills and product knowledge for their staff. Thank you very much.
Open mind. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, yeah, it is a very actually you have many minutes to use. Okay, so we had two presentations. First of all, you have some research base in your paper. Okay, I would like to start some. So it will be a good if we can see your some results as a presentation, so we can just also analyze. It's a little bit recommendation about the presentation. So
Yes.
we can see your results on the screen, so we can just discuss more, you know. So
Yes. Okay. Continue.
just a good recommendation for the future, you know, it is
Yes, from the study, it shows that product efficacy is efficiency and relative advantage were the most significant. That customers actually look at the benefits of the product and relative and the advantage of the product when it comes to patronage. Efficacy in this situation turns out to be insignificant because both Muslim customers and non-Muslim customers showed lights towards advantage and benefit more than religiosity of the product. In the course of the study, you will find out that that's why the study suggests that Islamic banks should create more awareness about the products and even the religiosity of the product, because most of the customers cannot even differentiate what's the difference between Islamic leasing, which is ijara, and the conventional leasing. Just that they actually enjoy some product structure like maintenance, which the bank was able to keep maintenance of the product throughout the tenure, and the ability to control the assets at the same time. So unlike conventional leasing, and also customers enjoy non-charge of penalty over delayed payment of rentals. When you delay a rental, there is no penalty to be charged, and the custody of the assets remains with the customer. At the same time, the bank shoulders the responsibility of, like to say, the risk which will come natural insofar as it is not at the result of negligence or any recklessness. So anything that happens to the assets, naturally it becomes the responsibility of the bank and not the customers. So these are some of the advantage which they enjoy over existing conventional leasing. But most the non-Muslim and even Muslim customers, sometimes they don't even know whether this come from Islamic jurisprudence or not. So there is need to increase more awareness so that they know, okay, this is the rule in the jurisprudence, and this is why it is Islamic.
thank you. So I would like to add something for also Eki before going to Q&A. Eki, you used the circular economy perspective for your study. But you know, the circular economy, generally the circular, the flow chart is generally used in macroeconomics to show how the capital and the goods are flow around from households to firms and firms to households, and then you add the government sector. But as my knowledge, circular economy is a new concept for the conventional economics also, it emphasizes the using the waste of the economy and they transform this waste and using this resource again in the economy. As you mentioned in the first chart, you know, the linear economy is produce, consume, and waste. But the circular economy use this waste as a recycle and make it into economy again. In your discussion, I saw that you discussed the sustainability of this issue. So you said that we have to make these resources to regain to economy, but in charts, it is a classical chart, and it is better to you know, focus on more about the circular issue, not the classical flow chart. It's the classical flow chart. It's the basic macroeconomics, but it is better to focus on the circular issue and how the Islamic finance can help it. You know, the microfinance institution and microfinance funds can. So microfinance funds can be used for this recycling project. You know, I saw that the Islamic Development Bank also has a program for the next 3 or 4 years, as they call it SMART. They plan to invest more on these funds, development funds, to this circular economy projects. Maybe you may revise your literature review, or you know, I understand that you are using circular economy concept, and I understand that circular economy is recycling the economy. And also there are some literature on it about Islamic economies, how we can contribute to this recycling economy. Actually, it is also very competent to the Maqasid Sharia to recycle the economy. So I would like to just add this. Thank you very much also to your presentation, and Ruqayya. If there are any questions from our audience, you may hear now.
Yeah, thank you so much. Is there any question? There's no question.
Yes, I have kind of like comment, if you allow me, and maybe question to Imam al-Muttaqin.
Yes, Dr.
Can I, Dr. Taha?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I think the conventional microfinance institutions have expanded their operations in the last 2, maybe 3 decades. And the lack of Islamic microfinance institutions is an obvious absence in the industry. So government and private donor funds alone are not sufficient to fill in the extremely large gap between the supply and demand of Islamic microfinance services. At the micro and I think institutional levels, government and private donor funds can play a major role to finance startup costs, training and development of staff, and exposure to best practices for new and growing Islamic microfinance institutions. So the gap can only be filled through a substantial increase in self-sustaining profitable microfinance institutions, and by establishing the Islamic microfinance community. So, I mean, based on your research and especially the emphasis of your paper, I mean, you didn't mention this Islamic microfinance community in the circular, economy. What do you think about this, the importance and the role of Islamic microfinance community? Because all, government and private donor funds are kind of like an imitation of the conventional microfinance institutions, but the Islamic microfinance community is kind of like part of like financial literacy, and has a, I think an important role in terms of Islamic microfinance, institutions. What do you think about this, community issue or idea?
Thank you for the comment, Dr. Najmuddin. So, as I mentioned in my presentation, so actually this kind of uniqueness of social and business approach coming from the basic community needed. So BMT in Indonesia actually created by the community, and also the services just focus on the poor and the poorest community. So it is not small, but the goal of the financial services of Islamic microfinance Indonesia, in particular BMT, just focus on the poor and the poorest people. So for the second one, the comment from Dr. Taha Airi is about the classical circular flow. I agree with your statement. Actually, this is a big issue, that how to recreate the Islamic perspective based on the circular flow concept. But the main point that I obtained from my papers, from my research, is the first one we have to coming from the basic principle of the intermediation theory of finance. So, but in the Islamic perspective, we have to combine with the Maqasid Sharia, as I mentioned in the slide, which is consists of several point of view in the concept of Maqasid Sharia. So that's what I think, what I get the point of my papers.
Okay. Thank you. So, do we have any questions from listeners? It is very clear. I think then two presenters have clearly mentioned their paper. The microfinance, issues both very important in now Islamic finance or the classical finance theory. Now we have to study more on it, but sometimes microfinance is a debatable. And last week I had a question. Also, one professor in Islamic economics workshop. Sometimes it is hard to use the microfinance tools in economy like Turkey or the more developed economies, because the capital needed for the microfinances is getting bigger and bigger when the economy is getting bigger. So it is hard to collect a microfinance capital. For example, in Turkey, you need more capital to invest. But in Bangladesh, it is very easier to supply this capital to poorest to invest their economy. So we have, it is my perspective that we also work on this, differentiate between the Muslim countries or all, not the Muslim, but all countries according to their economic development. So how can we separate this social finance and the financial inclusion, as you mentioned? Sometimes it is easy to help as a socially, but it is very hard to get supply finance to people in Turkey. You can help the people, it's a social policy, but it is very hard to organize, some financial institution. So I think there's no question for this session. If there's nothing coming from other sources like YouTube chat, we may finish the session. Is it okay, Dr. Najmuddin?
Yeah, I think it's okay. We have just like 5 minutes, and
Yeah.
we'll give a break and then start to the next session. Thank you so much, Professor Taha.
Thank you very much, Eki and Ruqayyah.
Thank you so
I
much.
hope the best.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you.